I use this exclusively to do all my retrofits on my Mark V Jetta, right?
Yeah.
European taillights, switching the instrument cluster, convenience modules, like gateways, radios, like all that, only with VCDS.
Okay, welcome back to the VWID Talk podcast. We are your hosts, Jan and Wes. And today, Jan has put together something really great for us. This is a kind of a smorgasbord of Volkswagen diagnostic tools. We want to help you not have to think so hard to make a decision of which diagnostic tool you want to use to help you accomplish your goals with your Volkswagen.
So what you see here is a clone of the factory VW factory interface that you might need for ODIS, and you can use for VCTool. This is dedicated Rostec VCDS, our favorite dFirst, and then generic OBD tools on the right, and on the bottom is OBDeleven. So we want to talk to you about what are these, why do you need them, and how you could choose. But before we talk about that, Wes, we wanted to also ground us in OBD, because there are this OBD2 and OBDeleven and OBD.
Yes.
So can you explain these terms, please?
Yeah, so OBD is just a generic term for onboard diagnostics. And actually, Volkswagen is one of the first companies that started that back in the late 60s. They used all analog tools. Wow. But what we're interested in today is specifically OBD2, which is a protocol that first came around in 1996. And it was basically used for monitoring emissions, like in fault codes. So you can see, is your oxygen sensor working? Is your exhaust gas recirculation working properly to keep emissions? And so there's a standard set of codes that OBD outputs that lots of different generic tools can read across all the different vehicles. But then there are more advanced codes that you are not able to read with a regular OBD2 reader that are specific to vehicles. Like Ford has their own, Volkswagen Group has their own. And so today we're going to talk mostly about the Volkswagen specific tools. But the important thing to know is every modern car has an OBD2 port, usually underneath your dashboard, where you can plug in a diagnostic tool, whether that's something cheap that you buy at an auto parts store, or one of the tools we're going to talk about today that gives you very specific information about your car. So they use it for advanced diagnostics, programming, and modifying settings, which is why, of course, we're interested in them.
Yes. And maybe this is a great segue into the car complexity. So the OBD and OBD2 is this abstraction layer of all those control modules that exist in your car. So this is a quick model that I have vibe coded here. This is a model of my ID4. Yes, the color isn't yet right, but when you make it transparent, you see these individual boxes here.
I love that you vibe coded this thing. It's great. So you have designed this model, and what are we looking at here inside of our modeled ID4?
Yeah, so inside what we are looking at are those individual controller units.
Okay, so all these little boxes represent, there's that many of them, all these different control units? Wow.
Yes, okay. Yes, exactly. And so if you want to do some advanced retrofits, then, for example, you need to replace some of these modules.
Okay.
And or you need to add them. And each module has an address. They sit on multiple different buses. And then when the car communicates with all these modules. And for advanced retrofits, you need to be aware what module you need for a certain feature and what the module does, how you want to adopt it. But we'll go much deeper into this with Andy from Rostec. So please subscribe so you don't miss that episode. We're going to geek out about most of these modules and kind of talk about even the buses. We talked about the interface buses a little bit in our other episode here when we talked about how you upgrade your software, the OTA updates and shop upgrades, and we talked about all this. So the complexity is explained there. So check out that other episode. So we wanted to give you a quick deep dive into under the hood, so then you understand what these tools are showing. So let's get back to the tooling again.
Okay, so these are the different options, and they go everywhere from a standard OBD2 scanner, which would be a read-only device just for reading data out of your car, to specialty tools. So the last 5 things we have listed here are all specialized for reading those individual modules Jan just showed us in that car that are all VW modules. So specialty tools can read the individual settings on those and change them if you know what you're doing.
Change them. Yeah, that's the important part. So the OBD2 scanner works for your Toyota, works for your Ford, and works for your VW. But these other ones are mostly specialized. OBDeleven is a little bit different because it supports more car brands.
Okay.
So let's go to deep dive into each of these tools.
Okay, so first you're talking about a standard OBD2 scanner, and this is actually a little bit more advanced than what you would get at like a auto parts or advanced auto parts or AutoZone store, where you would plug it in and it would give you like a P0762 code. This is something that's usually a Bluetooth low energy adapter. This one in particular, OBDlinks. OBDLink. I use one called Carista. And both of them are able to connect with a free app called Car Scanner.
And before you go into that, Wes, I just want to clarify why do I use the OBDelink CX? The reason is it's low energy. So if you forget to keep it plugged in overnight, you won't get into the Christmas tree in the morning telling you your 12-volt battery is low. Exactly. So that's one reason, and it's also secure. And so the Bluetooth is more secure. And so I bought this one for the trip to California that we have done.
Okay.
And I used ABRP, a better route planner. So so that's the same interface that you can use for ABRP and OBD2 scanner as well.
Yeah. So these are Bluetooth low energy scanners that use the ELM protocol. And they work with this free tool called Car Scanner, which is available on your iPad, on your iPhone, on Android. Here's your screenshot of it in the App Store.
Yeah, it is free, though. If you want to get rid of the ads, there is a lifetime purchase option, and it's not that expensive. It's really worth it. I purchased that.
I can see that you've purchased it here. It's a lot. Yeah, I think it's also nice to support people that make good software.
Exactly. So Stanislav, the developer, does really great job.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here, this is a read-only tool. That's the difference between this OBD scanner tool and all these other ones. But you've got a dashboard here where you can pull up a dashboard of all your different. You set up this dashboard here, and it's specific to the ID4. So when you can set it to be for your Toyota Corolla, Jan has it set up for his ID4, and it's reading off this dashboard. And what are the important things we can look at here?
So one important thing, for example, that some people may be wondering, what is the difference in voltages between my lowest cell pack? Because, of course, your big battery pack has dozens of cells in there. And here you can see the voltage of the lowest voltage and the highest voltage. Why that is important? Because the more balanced the pack is, the more healthy your pack is. Right?
You want that delta to be as small as possible. Yep. So it tells you that battery cell number 16 has a voltage of, that's your lowest voltage cell. Yep. And then, you can see some good information here. And the battery cell number 36 is the one with the highest voltage.
Yeah.
You're showing us different dashboards. You have multiple different dashboards you can look at.
Yeah, and these come predefined. You can define your own. So, for example, this blue one, and I'm sorry, this is moving so fast.
Oh, sure.
This blue one, for example, you can see the max energy content of the traction battery, which people use this to determine the battery degradation. Nominally, for my car, would be 77 kilowatts. It's showing 6950, so it's a little bit more around like 11% degradation in 5 years. That's a good number in my book.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, and you can also look at your 12-volt battery. We did an episode how you swapped 12-volt battery, by the way, as well.
Yes. That was really useful because you wouldn't think it would be that complicated, but it is. But this shows you your battery state's pretty good. It shows you the energy contained in it. Lots of useful information there.
If you follow Bjorn, who reviews many different EVs, like this is his signature dashboard, and that comes predefined with the tool. So you can literally just one click it and display this dashboard. But
So information only. This is an information tool, but one of the other cool features about it is that you can actually integrate it with CarPlay and Android Auto.
yep,
So look, Jan has his car scanner icon on his screen on his car.
yep, right here.
And so you can more safely monitor car things while driving without looking on your phone.
And so you can see the same dashboards that you have seen on the phone on your infotainment, though the layout is a little different. It shows as a table, not as rich graphically as you have seen before.
Sure.
But the same thing is there. So it's pretty the same.
Okay. So these are really popular with a lot of people in the forums who like to be able to read out the data, know their battery state of health, and more accurately see what kind of charge their battery has instead of relying on their guessometer. And it's really just useful for that kind of graphing of information, people that are data nerds. So
100%. Now let's go into those specific VW tools. Now we know that OBDeleven, they have expanded beyond just VW, but we have tried them with VW only. And as a part of the purchase is both the subscription. There are different subscriptions if you need SFD unlock and if you need one-click up. So check their page, and they come with a dedicated OBD dongle. This is V2 dongle that is one of those that will drain your battery if you forget to unplug it. So I would recommend the V3 dongle. And the app looks pretty nice. They have created a new one that, of course, gives you a bunch of OBD information, but you can also go tap to scan, and it will, of course, detect your car, and you can go into individual modules. So if I fast forward, you see it's scanning the car, and then gives you fault summary in a very nice way. You can search this online, and then if you want to explore a specific module, you can do that. And there are also these one-click apps. So that's another good feature of OBDeleven. So for example, if you want to turn on Scandinavian daytime running lights, meaning that the rear taillights will be on with your daylight running lights, they have a setting here for that, and you can, of course, like search. If I go into those control modules, you see these are the individual control modules. So now we are looking under the hood of the car. Now we are connected to all these boxes that you have seen in that visualization, and you can literally open any of them that you need. You can again search. Typically, most work is done in the gateway module 19, which is so-called ICAS 1. The benefit is that you can do SFD unlock. So you can unlock this module. Now it is already unlocked, and one of the new features, and then you can go into adaptation. So for example, if you want to do battery adaptation for your 12-volt battery, you can do it right here. So check out our episode on how you can replace your 12-volt battery. And then there's also a bunch of other things, like you can see some advanced data, like the battery voltages, etc. So you can kind of get all that information too. I hope that they will allow to search in that list, because today you cannot, like, there's thousands of sensors, but you cannot search. And it does not support some advanced modules, like, for example, the C002. We've been trying to communicate with the company for over 3 years, but still no support for that has been added. But again, this is really great for figuring out what's wrong with your car, and also allowing you to SFD unlock and change adaptations.
And you can make some pretty advanced changes with this device. A lot of people like that this is it's a mobile first device. The dongle itself is 100%. Not all that expensive.
100%. Though there are some things, like you can, there's one tile that says like reset the module, and there are some warnings on the forum, like never ever do that. So there are like some things that you can kind of easily click into, but then your car gets into some weird state. So be careful with this tool.
Well, with any of these tools really that are advanced, we want to be careful. I think that you can get yourself into trouble, but they can be very useful, particularly for maintenance things like changing your brakes or changing your 12-volt battery, like Jan was just showing us. So
exactly. So OBDeleven summary, great mobile experience, one-click apps, and SFD unlock. The SFD unlock is really, really big because it allows you to change adaptations of modules that are locked from the factory by VW.
Yeah, and the real downside here is that it is subscription only, so that if your subscription runs out, it's an annual subscription, then you can only read data, right? You can't. You can't
and
do any change.
I think that the way how they designed it, I really loved it when this came out, because you can even create your own one-click application. So when I retrofitted my European taillights, I'm like, that's awesome. I will create my own one-click app, so that, because there's like dozen different settings that I need to do. So I thought I would do it, but unfortunately, it is not that advanced to support all those features. So I quickly gave up from the Ultimate subscription. Now I have the Pro subscription that allows me to do SFD unlock.
Okay, all right. So next one is the dFirst dongle. Sometimes it's called dFirst coder. It's a one-time purchase for a single VIN. So if you're just using it for your own car, you're an enthusiast, it's actually a really great deal. There's no ongoing subscription, and it supports SFD unlock with that one-time purchase. So really nice. It has easy functions for common maintenance items. So like we just talked about, the 12-volt battery replacement, the brake pad replacement, things like that. And then it's also got one-click apps for lots of popular mods. Like Jan was just talking about, the Scandinavian taillights is a one-click app. The ability to change your blower strength for your air conditioner, how much air it blows out. Lots of things that people like to do are easy one-click things. It also has a bunch of built-in functions for retrofits, like retrofitting ventilated seats and things like that, which I've not gotten to use yet. And I'm a little scared because it doesn't really say what it does. It just says, click here to retrofit ventilated seats. Well, it's obviously not going to install the seats for you. So you need to know what you're doing. The downside of this particular tool is there's no advanced adaptations or coding. It is all single click functions. And so if there's something it doesn't have that you need, I've found their support's really great. You can ask them to add it, and they will.
I would say the support is beyond awesome, actually. Yes, right? Because you remember, we have done the episode how you can enable metrics high beams. Yes. You contacted with the company, and within a week, the one click was already there. It was incredible.
Next day.
Incredible.
And so because their interface is a wrapper for their web interface, they made the changes remotely. I didn't even have to download a new app, and it just showed up. And yeah, it was outstanding. So we got a video here of this in action. And you can see that, you've got two tabs up there, maintenance and services. We're scrolling through services. You can check your 12-volt battery health, brake pads warning. You can also SFD unlock individual components. Here we are unlocking our gateway, module 19. It locks. It says, now you've got 90 minutes remaining. So now you could use another tool, which is what I was using it for. You can scan your car for errors. And you can clear your error codes. But it's really show me the codes and yes, clear. There's no advanced stuff there. Go back to maintenance. You can check your battery health like we talked about. It's telling you to turn the engine on.
Oh, wow.
Right? That was the 12-volt battery health. And these are the one-click apps like lock with the ignition on, make your window close when the engine turns off. How many blinks do you want your blinker to show? Things like that. They're all just single button apps. And there's me enabling the rearview mirrors tilting downward.
And that's a great feature when you're backing up.
Right. So if you have the folding mirrors, it allows you to do that. And it's a one button click. So daytime running light settings, dynamic light assist. That is our matrix headlight feature that Jan and I asked them to add. Jan figured out the settings and I said, hey, would you guys add this to your app? And they did it. It was like 12 hours later. So lots of really neat, these are lots of neat mods that people like. And you see it's selected one click up at the top, mirror puddle lights when you're in reverse.
These say paid. So
you're right.
Do you need to pay an extra? No,
it's not extra. No, you pay your one. Once you tie it to your VIN, you have to log in. And I didn't show us logging in because I didn't want to waste the time. But these are all paid for already.
Yes, yeah, and it's like roughly $80. So it's
about $80,
south of $100. So and it's really.
In fact, it's on sale right now for $70, but you can sometimes get it better. But it's really a good deal for what amounts to a lifetime subscription. And you can also use it for lots of different cars, but then you would have to pay an ongoing subscription if you need to use it for more than one car. But if you're an enthusiast who wants it for one car, it's actually a really great buy. So these are the retrofit options. You can retrofit your 360 camera or your interior ambient lighting, and it's going to make all those changes for you based on what they know.
So you just plug in the right hardware, and then this is the software portion, and you don't have to worry figuring out which module you have to change, how you need to change it, because it's one click here.
Right, which is kind of ironic because you have to know enough to know which models you have to retrofit and how to do all that work. But then they make this easy by clicking one button. And so we just have to trust that they've modified the right settings here. So yeah, I think it's the summary is lots of good one-click options for maintenance, lots of good one-click options for mods, for those things we were just showing you, retrofits. There's no subscription unless you need more than one vehicle, and they have excellent support. They respond, and they're in China, right? So 12 hours off, and they're still responding very quickly. The downside is that there's no advanced adaptations or coding. You can't go into an arbitrary adaptation channel and change the value or do any long coding. But
that's okay, right? Because that is their audience. The audience is that, hey, I really don't have time figuring out, because it took me 3 months to figure out what settings I need, what adaptations I need to do for my rear taillights, the European taillights, to work properly. And so in theory, if you do the mod, you don't have to worry about it.
That's what's so great about this is, Jan, you share that data with the world. And so now that they will add it into their tool, and so everybody else can hit European taillights.
Exactly. All right. Our favorite VCDS, formerly Vacom, it's one of the powerful, most mature ones. They actually have built this as a successor, as an alternative to the ODIS, to the factory tool. And there is a lot of not only enthusiasts using this tool, but also a lot of shops are using this tool. And so they're really incredible. You can do one-time purchase for enthusiasts. We both with Wes have that. You have 3 wins on that. It's a desktop only and Windows only. But Wes, you're running it in an emulation on a Linux.
I am running on Linux,
box, right?
And I didn't even have to install a virtual machine or an emulator. I just installed Wine, and it just I ran the installer and works.
There you go.
It's really well written.
Yep. So check out.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jan, go ahead.
Yep, sorry, go ahead.
So it's also probably the oldest diagnostic tool out there. I think it might even predate the Volkswagen ODIS tool. It's I think Uwe at Rostec wrote this in like the late 90s or early 2000s. I had the older version of VAGCOM is what it was called that I used in my Passats and Golfs in the early 2000s.
Yep.
So they have many, many years of experience. Their support's wonderful. And the tool just works really well. So yeah, it was both.
100%. I use this exclusively to do all my retrofits on my Mark V Jetta, right? European taillights, switching the instrument cluster, convenience modules, like gateways, radios, like all that, only with VCDS. So we definitely love it. So here's just a quick sneak peek into how we use it. So usually I quickly do the scan, because the scan shows you what modules does the gateway see in your car, and the red ones are the ones that are reporting some malfunction. And so you can very quickly, for example, double click on module 19. It will open the details for module 19, read that, and boom, here are your faults that are in module 19. Yeah. So it's just super, super easy. Most recently, they have introduced an SFD unlock. So check out their options for SFD unlock, because then when you unlock SFD, you can change those adaptations that are logged. So for example, we talked about this flash number of flashes for your car. So the convenient flash. So if you want to change it from 3 to 4, just change it to 4, do it. Yes. Okay. So this dialog is little, if it stays there until you click OK. So it's not like, but close, and yeah, that's it. Now, another thing what I really like is that you can jump very quickly to any module. So for example, here, you want to say, go to C002. So if you would be turning on the metrics functionality, now you see that SFD is logged. So I go to SFD. I've already signed in, so I can do the online unlock. It will communicate with VW backend, unlock the module. And now it's unlocked, so I can change those settings. You see that.
So you click the adaptation button, and now you can search for whatever adaptation name you want.
Exactly.
So he looked for AFS, and it automatically filtered the list for things with AFS in it, which is for the smart matrix beam. You're going to make the change. It was halogen. You changed it to not dynamic light assist, but smart matrix beam.
Yes. And that's how you enable metrics headlights. So that's a very, very cool functionality, SFD, and jumping to modules that, for example, OBDeleven doesn't see. But there is one more feature that I really, really like, which is the channel controller map. It is in application, so it's a little hidden, but this is perfect because you give it a module number and ask it to save all adaptations for that module. And so what it does, it literally talks to the module and gives you all the adaptations in a CSV file. What is it good for? Well, it's good for taking the scan of the car. So for example, this is exactly how we figured out how to enable the metrics high beams, because I've done this in Europe on a car that supported metrics high beams. On an ID3, I took the full scan of C002, then compared it with my car and saw the delta, and voila, we found the right setting. So this is really good. This is also really good if you're kind of trying different things, then it's almost like a backup, right? I haven't tried to restore it from this, but at least you can have the comparison here. But it also has some like advanced measuring values. So for example, what Wes showed on the beginning was that there was in the OBD car scanner, there was a chart that showed you how hard you pressed your gas pedal. And so of course you can read all these sensor data here as well. So now I press the pedal all the way to the metal, as people say, and I can display this as a chart as well. Or you can export this. And so you can so it's great also for troubleshooting, reading the values beyond messing with settings that you need to change for a specific retrofit.
Yeah, that's really cool. Also, I thought it was interesting that as you were doing that channel adaptation scan of Module 9, there are nearly 2,400 different adaptation channels on there. So
it is
it's powerful, the amount of control it gives you, but it can be overwhelming if you know what you're searching for. They've made lots of great features, like you saw Jan was able to type C002 or 09 into the box and go straight. You don't have to scroll through and click.
Exactly. So once you know the user interface, you can just boom, 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 and go to.
If you're a professional, that's going to save you a lot of time.
100%. So it is definitely our popular tool. It's very powerful for advanced users. You can change the adaptations values and also long coding. There's a long coding helper, which is like the predecessor of the adaptations these days. And now you can do SFD unlock with subscription. Please subscribe. We'll do a geek out with Andy from Rostec. We'll be talking about VCDS, but we'll also talking about more modules inside of that 3D model that you have seen. And we'll be seeing how you can connect VCDS to do some fun stuff with them. So,
okay, cool. So what's next? VCTool. Okay. So VCTool is something that Jan and I discovered that was actually something I had not heard of before we started doing this. This is more of an expert tool. It can do a lot of the things that VCDS does, but expert in the sense that it allows you to flash ECUs. So individual control models, you can flash with firmware, you can flash parameterization files, which tell it what features has available. Those are things that I'm not really comfortable doing yet. I don't have enough experience with it.
Neither I.
Right. So neither of us does. But so it is an expert tool, but it can use either the Volkswagen factory VAS 5054 or 6154A interfaces, or
the red one that we showed you on the beginning.
Right. The red clone is a clone of those, and it works really well with that. And what it really is useful for is allowing you to program and retrofit parts from other cars. So if we wanted to install a control module from a GTX in Europe, we would still, you need to remove the component protection from that module to install it in your car. But this would allow you to program it with the features you want. And you can't do that with other tools. It's a really cool thing.
Yep.
The downside is only for modern VWs like the MQB, MEB, MQB Evo, MQB Plus, MEB Plus, pretty much 2020 and newer platforms. But you can see here, Jan took these screenshots. This is a nice modern interface. You said this is all written in C#.
Yep.
So, it looks much nicer than VCDS. I find it a little more difficult to use, but Jan has figured out once you got to get your head around the shortcuts.
Yes. So once it's connected to the car, you can pretty much do the one-click presets as well. They do have some one-click presets, but you can go like really deep. And I think VCDS kind of keeps you safe, but this allows you to go like all the way to the metal. Like literally, there is a CAN bus monitor, so you can you can sniff the CAN traffic. You see all those submodules in the modules here that show right here.
Yeah. It's very, very powerful. Jan showed you a minute ago, you can see where you could do a click and tell it, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blinks when I tap my turn signal. But you can also go into it like he's showing us here and go directly into the modules and set that number by hand. So you can do the handheld version, but you can also get deep and powerful really quickly and get yourself into trouble if you're not careful.
Yeah, exactly. And see how many other things are here that you have not seen in those other tools that we have shown you, right? You can upload a data set, flashing, ZDecoder. And this is the terminal where you can like sniff the traffic on the canvas. You can mess with memory cells. There's so much. This is so advanced. This is so awesome. But you really need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. So I guess if we're gonna, did you want to show more things on here?
Yeah, I think we've kind of showed this. You can search here for adaptations. You can mess with adaptations. You can change the metrics beams and etc. But as Wes said, this is really a expert tool, and please know what you're doing when you're using it.
So the good news for this is that it can also use a standard pass-through interface. But if you have like one of the clones of the factory tool, you don't have to we didn't have to buy another tool because we already had it. We just had to download the software. And if you're not flashing data sets or flashing firmware, you can use the light version, which is really inexpensive. I think it's only like $30 a year.
So this is all paid subscription, but it is. I think they have a free version where you can kind of look and feel what you need and choose the subscription level that you need for what you need to achieve.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
ODIS, our favorite ODIS. So ODIS it's VW ODIS. So off-board diagnostic service or interface. And that is used by the VW shop. So if you bring your car to the dealer, then they will use this exact tool to determine what's wrong with your car, potentially update your software or make a software update. And that's pretty much those two main things, right?
Yeah. So when I say component protection on there, the only way to remove component protection this is like an anti-theft feature. So even if you buy a part brand new from the factory, if you're trying to replace your CAN gateway or your body control module, there's no way to do that without this factory tool, because it has to go in and remove the component protection, even from the brand new part, and adapt that part to your car. And once that's done, you could use something like VCTool to flash custom data onto it if you know how, but you really can't do it without this factory tool. And so the downside of this, in addition to that, is that it's limited to Volkswagen approved functions. You can go into certain adaptation channels. They make it really hard to get there, like we were showing with VCDS and VCTool, but you're really having it walk you through their list of diagnostic steps.
So in theory, like you could enable, if your car is not SFD2 car, your car is SFD1 car, you could enable metrics high beams with ODIS. You could do it. But if your car is SFD2, like for example ID bus, they will reject that coding because the SFD2 requires a specific additional authorization on top the fact that this is like $1,000 per year subscription.
Yes, very expensive, limited in what you can do. But there's some, if you need it, you need it. You can't get around it for certain retrofits.
Yeah.
So,
and the user interface takes a little bit time to kind of get yourself acquainted with. What is interesting is that you the good news is that I think they did some good job on like localizing parts of this into English, but you still see some like German words, right? Like, oh, you still have 56 days until your license expires. And there is a lot of complexity because it feels like VW has been evolving this and there's more and more features. And usually the shops have, when they use this tool, they have a very strict manual of steps what they need to do. And they also created a shortcuts for them, like campaign ID, right? So you feed in the campaign ID and then the tool has like macros to run that campaign. So reset that, update that module, test that, and so on, right? And so Wes actually has done a full software upgrade with into the version 3.5 with this tool himself, right?
I followed the dealership procedure. Yeah, that's one of our videos. We'll have that linked here. But we followed the same procedure somebody at the dealership would have followed. And it was pretty neat to see how it worked. And I'm glad I don't have to do that on a regular basis.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So ODIS, hey, great. It's the most hard, well, it is the hardcore tool, but it requires to stay within the boundaries of what VW allows you to do, right? If you want to go off boundaries, then the VCTool and deep into parameterization, then VCTool can be potentially more powerful. So if you're a hobbyist, you probably won't need this tool because there are some other tools that are better for what you need to achieve. And the reason why we got it is that we wanted to get our hands on it and play with it.
And I went through my tech company and able to register for this. I'm not sure they will even register it to a hobbyist. They might. But you can get access, like Jan said, it's $1,000 a year, or you can do it for $150 a week for 1 week at a time. But then you're paying $100 registration fee, and you have to. It's an awful lot.
Yeah, and this is intended for businesses. That's why this is a professional tool intended for businesses,
for a shop or for the actual dealership. Exactly. So
all right. Now you might be wondering, what are our favorites?
Yes.
So funny, we kind of independently agreed that our number one favorite is VCDS. Like I've been using VCDS at least for 10 years. Now with introduction of SFD support into VCDS, I think I'll be relying less on OBDeleven.
Yep.
I do have reservations with OBDeleven. I think that the app is like looking great. The only challenge that I found is that their support is almost non-existent. They're changing their sign-in servers. There's like so many like challenges that I had using it over the past 4 years. Like literally, I used it in the past 4 years. 2 years, I had the Ultimate subscription. Now I have only Pro subscription, and I wish their support would be a little better.
Yeah.
ODIS, it's probably, again, like the most complex tool that is not for me as an enthusiast. So that's why I gave it number one. Of course, the shops, that's the default tool that they use. Yeah. So they will be using it. But for enthusiasts, I don't think that's applicable. That's a good tool.
Most complex, but still not the most powerful. So
exactly.
That's interesting.
Exactly. Because again, you have to follow the VW boundaries, right?
Yeah. All right. And so I'll go through my list as well. And also, like Jan said, VCDS right on the top. I think we were both biased. I've been using VCDS for 20 years. Jan, you said at least 10.
Yeah.
They're very stable. Their app is very mature. The guys on that team really know what they're doing. Their support's really excellent. They have a forum of knowledgeable folks, and lots and lots of VW shops use that as their professional tool. I love that it's stable. I love how the design is dated looking, but it's intuitive to use for me. I find that it's not hard to find what you want to do. And you can do things like adaptations and long coding, meaning literally changing hex values. And I also love that it's a one-time purchase. Unless you need SFD, when you need to unlock SFD, it's still reasonable for an enthusiast. It's $50 a year. They're not trying to rake you over the coals. I like so much about VCDS.
I agree.
My second favorite is this new dFirst dongle, and they've been around for 6 to 8 months, maybe a year now. And it's because they do what most people would want to do. If you're not doing adaptations and coding, they've got so many one-click apps, and if they don't have the one you want, they'll add it.
That's incredible. Yep.
Yeah, and particularly, I mean, the bad thing is you have to know what you want added, but they'll try to figure it out for you. But for basic maintenance, brake pad changing, battery changing, unlocking SFD. So before VCDS supported SFD unlock, I used the dFirst dongle to unlock SFD, and then I went and made the advanced changes. That's what you were doing with OBDeleven.
With OBDeleven, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also like that for a single car, if you're just an enthusiast with one car, it's a one-time purchase, even for SFD unlock. So I'm not sure how long that'll be, but it's really great. And the third one I put on there is VCTool. We've only used that for a short period of time. It can do everything do everything that VCDS can do. It's got a more modern interface. It's really nice. I don't love that there's an annual subscription, but you can use a dongle you've already got, and the subscription is very reasonable if you're not having to flash data sets and do very, very advanced things. So I think there's a lot of great stuff to it. You could get yourself into trouble if you're not careful.
Yeah, and unlocks the new world of, for example, parameterization for us that we have never approached. Right.
Exactly. So. ODIS didn't even make my list. I would only use ODIS if I had to, because I was trying to replace a part that you're required to pay ODIS
or
for.
Upgrade your software. You won't be able to do upgrade to 3.8 now with any other software than ODIS.
Yeah. So if we have to, that's the only way to do it.
Exactly. So we also did a quick poll on the forum. This is more objective. We had 24 people voting for their most favorite tools, and the number one here clearly is dFirst with 10 votes. And then right behind it is OBD2 Scanner for just reading, not advanced modifications. And then OBDeleven and VCDS. We believe that VCDS will have more clicks now when it supports SFD. But the common theme here that you see from the top three is that all these top three have a mobile experience, right? Mobile experience. And I think that is what drives people to these tools.
Yeah. If you're a hobbyist, it makes a lot more sense.
Exactly. So hopefully we answered what are these, why you need them, and how to choose them. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next episode where we talk with Andy from VCDS from Rostec about not just VCDS, but also we'll geek out about those individual modules in your car, what they do, where do you find them, what are the buses between them, and all that crazy deep stuff. So I'm extremely looking forward to it.
Andy knows so much about these things. It's really great to have him on. So yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.